Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/AskReddit. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. What's the craziest crime you or somebody in your family has committed? My friend got blackout drunk and stole a bulldozer that had the keys left in it. He turned it on and obviously didn't know how to drive it, so he just ended up making the scoopy part go up and down for a bit before the cops came. They actually let him go too. Scoopy part. I laughed out loud at the scoopy part. My sister-in-law worked on a ski hill. One week there was a promotion by a company where they would blow up big inflatables, like the big gorillas you see in car lots. She had seen them blow them up and deflate them for days, so she knew what the deflated ones looked like. One day she was leaving work and one of these deflated mascot thingies was right behind her car. My sister-in-law has never stolen anything in her entire life, but at that moment she decided out of the blue that she wanted that blow-up. She plopped it in the back and drove home. When I came to visit a couple weeks later, she was freaking out about it. She asked me if I wanted it, just to get the evidence out of her house. That is the story of how I came to own a 2-story high inflatable cow. My dad's older brother came home from the war in Vietnam to find that his wife had been cheating on him with his best friend. He locked them both in the friend's house and burned it down with them in it. He held the firefighters off with a rifle until he was sure they couldn't be saved, then he shot himself. This was before I was born, but I've seen some newspaper clippings about it. My dad brought in a banana tree to the US from his home village in Kerala. He literally walked through customs with a tree in a pot in his arms. The customs lady asked him what he was thinking, and he just replied that the banana tree was from his mother's garden. The customs lady must have thought my dad was crazy, but she just let him walk right through. We still have that tree and its offspring. Customs lady, this is crazy. Your dad, no, this is bananas. My grandfather's cousin stabbed a waiter to death because he wouldn't let him use the employees-only restroom in his restaurant. Is your grandfather's cousin Jack Henry Abbott? When you gotta go. A distant cousin got her terminally ill father to give her power of attorney, and then stole all of his money, so she wouldn't have to split it with her brother. A guy I went to school with in the 70s emptied his dementia-ridden father's life savings while he lived with him. 60-some years old, and still stealing to support his coke habit. His sister found out, and he did 5 years restitution, $80K, no way he'll live long enough to pay that back, and 8 years probation. It's not a bad crime or anything, but it was illegal at the time. So, in Germany, up until a few years ago, we still had a general draft for the army. And a generation ago it was very hard to get out of it. My uncle was a hardcore pacifist, so going to the army wasn't an option for him. But being accepted as a conscientious objector at that time basically required you to be a devout Christian, and use the Bible as an argument for why you couldn't kill another human. And my uncle was also atheist. He couldn't realistically object, didn't want to go to the army, and didn't want to go to jail too. So he waited. He got sent his draft notice, passed the physical, and got a letter telling him to report to X company under Sergeant Y. He wrote back a reply, on rose-colored paper, scented with perfume, about how much he was looking forward to serving under the strong leadership of Y, promising to obey every one of his orders, and that he can't wait to experience life in the barracks together with so many strong and muscular men. He was declared unfit for service shortly after. My dad, when he was much younger and infinitely more stupid, regularly used to drink drive with his friends. It was the early 70s and no one really cared. To hear him speak about it now, he can't believe how stupid he was. One night, he and his friend were out drinking. They heard there was a party going on at a pub across town and decided to head over. On the way they go past a large club with a queue of people waiting to go in. My dad decides to show off a bit and pull a skid. He miscalculated, hit a curb and flipped the car, sliding down the road on his roof. The car stops, they get out and leg it, to the cheers of the people in the queue. They get the bus back home and immediately call the police to report the car as stolen. The police knew what had happened, but couldn't prove anything. So your dad's story to the cops was the car was stolen and the thieves crashed it? Cousin got busted robbing a bank. Got sentenced to jail. Proceeded to break out of jail with his cellmate and went on the run. Fast forward a few months and he's living in a hotel room with his cellmate. Cellmate orders a pizza to the room, bad idea. Delivery guy recognized them and reported them to the police. They get arrested again, and shortly after my cousin killed himself in prison. My cousin had a wife and a kid and got into a nasty coke habit. We don't bring him up anymore. I need to sleep soon. I read this too fast and saw broke out of jail with his cellmate living in hotel room and pizza, and thought you were just describing the plot to Home Alone 2. This was a couple of generations back, early 20th century, but there was this guy who was constantly getting drunk and harassing my great aunt. So, one of her male friends dressed up in an Easter bunny outfit, put a bat in its giant fake carrot and beat the dude with it. He got away with it, but I'm sure it helped that half the community was waiting for the day the guy's liver finally gave out. Donnie Darkoed his ass. Have a fucking carrot. My grandfather's father was a mean, abusive, hateful drunk, who would come home from working in the mines long enough to terrorize his children and impregnate his wife, and then leave again for mine work. He tried to set the house on fire with wife and kids, 13 of them, inside, twice. One day my grandfather and a couple of his siblings were picking berries across the road from the house, and his drunk father started taking potshots at them with a rifle. My grandpa, one brother, and his oldest sister took off running for the house with the agreement that the first one there would kill him, their father. My grandpa's sister got there first and shot him to death. She was never charged with a crime, due to her age and the fact that everyone knew my great-grandfather was a mean son of a bitch, and had it coming. My dad told me he once snuck into a tire warehouse, he cut the alarm and came in through a window on the roof, and stole a bunch of tires. I guess, after that, he retired from his life of crime. Does he have any leftover tires? I'm looking for some 235/65 or 18s. My dad's side of the family grew up as New Hampshire hicks. My grandfather was stabbed in 2 different bar fights and burned down an entire country club, because he thought they were too stuck up. He was never caught, and went on to earn a Bronze and Silver Star in the Korean War, but unfortunately lost his leg too. Live free or die. My cousin in Youngstown, used to rob people selling goods on Facebook. Got caught after him, an accomplice murdered a man over a PS3. Good times. This checks out for Youngstown. My aunt came home one evening to find that her son had broken in, killed her dog and was eating it, and then tried to kill her. He was a hardcore addict and it fried his brain badly. I missed 10 seconds ago when I didn't know this happened. I worked at a movie theater when Back to the Future was originally released. We used to take the entire movie ticket instead of tearing them and resell them to the next group coming in. The old theater was massive. Sat 600 people. We probably made about $15,000 between 2 of us in month or so. Adjusted for inflation, it's about $37,000. We were the richest high school kids in our town. Didn't the theater suspect that something was going on? I mean, thousands of people watching it, but official ticket sales are a few hundred people? An uncle robbed a bank, or was an accessory to the robbers, IDK. His brilliant escape when the police showed up was to go to the roof and jump off. He didn't do time, just had to go to the hospital for a broken leg. I'll have to ask my mom when I get a chance, she knows the story better than I do. Aim for the bushes. My uncle sold Tim Allen the cocaine that got him sent to prison in the late 70s. So did Tim rat out your uncle? My sister stole a puppy. Just walked into the pet store, stuffed her up her jacket. Looking at these other things, she seems a lot less bold than she did before. Hey, you want a puppy, parents can't do all the work. My uncle went to prison for chaining a cop to the back of his bike and driving down the highway. Wonder what chain of events led to this. Poor fella. I bet he kept up for the first mile or so. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.